Hey.
It's Michael and Melanie and the little babies here chilling out. But we wanted to actually give you some tips and tricks on how to trim down your budget, because I think that's one of the biggest things, and I think that trimming down your budget can actually be an art form.
Yeah,
because
sure.
there is a fine line between saving money and between becoming an ultimate cheapskate.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not, I don't think that's really quality living. So we wanted to share with you guys some very useful tips to save money without donating your blood or living on ramen. So yeah.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's actually just get started. What is the first category and here's what we're gonna do. We're actually going to go down our budget and tell you some of the categories that we spend money on, so that we can just give you guys some of our tips and tricks in that area.
Yeah, and obviously this won't be all inclusive, and you know, different things will apply to different people, but always feel free to ask comments you know, in the comment box below, and we'll respond to those, and we'll be posting plenty of videos going more in depth on this stuff. But you know, as he said, just going down our list, you know, our mortgage, our rent, that was one of the first things that came up. You know, be very open-minded in terms of what you're spending on rent. Not everybody's gonna be able to do this, but there are a lot of things that you can do to actually cut down on your rent expense. You know, if you're living in a situation where you have enough room that you can actually rent out a room. We did that for my brother, your brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, your brother, other way around, and that really helped us out in terms of freeing up our budget a little bit, and helped him out too, because it was cheaper than an apartment.
We've also split rent with his brother, my brother-in-law.
It's not always the most fun thing you can do, but it can really help, especially like if you're tight for money. You know, in some situations it might actually be cheaper to own a home than it would be to actually rent an apartment if you're in a situation that you can actually do that. You know, it's important to just keep your options open. Sometimes there's different apartments that are cheaper. Again, we can't go into all the details in this video, but you know, that's a big part of your budget, and you know, again, keep your options open. You can cut down there. Another one is like your utility bills, like your electric and your gas.
Can I do this one?
Yeah, go for it.
I like this one.
Yeah.
So what we found is every city, and you have to do a little bit of research. We might do some research and make a list at some point. But every city and state has what they call peak hours. So basically what it is electricity costs more at certain points of day. So the time of day when everybody's using the most electricity, that's called peak hours. And electricity, believe it or not, it like quadruples in price during peak hours. So here where we live in Albuquerque, the non-peak hours is before 8 a.m. and after 8 p.m.
Right.
And we found that just running big electronics like washing machine, dishwasher, dryer, we started only running those after 8 p.m. or before 8 a.m. and it dropped our electricity bill by what, like $30 or $40 a month?
In some months, like, even more.
It went down like tons. So use the peak hours, find out what those are, and that's gonna help cut your electricity bill by a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And then internet is another one. I know that's kind of on the realm of utilities, but if you're living in an area of town or in an area of the country where you actually have multiple internet providers, they will work with you on your price. And we'll do a video going more in depth, because that's an art.
He's a pro.
That is an art that I'm not proud to say that I'm good at, but I am good at, is negotiating internet prices. What did we, for like 2-3 years, we paid $20 for internet.
Yeah, we only paid like 20 bucks a month for internet for like 2 years.
And if you're in an area of the country, not everybody is, but if you're in an area of the country where you can actually negotiate between two providers, don't be afraid to switch providers, because they will bend over backwards to try to gain you as a customer, and the other company will bend over backwards to try to prevent you from leaving their service and going to a competitor. So you can use that to your advantage. Groceries, you can probably speak more to this one.
Yeah, so your grocery bill can actually be very flexible. And once again, like, this doesn't mean that you eat ramen.
No.
Okay, if you just learn a few recipes, and don't get like scared, don't think that you have to cook everything. We're actually gonna start putting out a lot of videos on different recipes that are really cheap but also healthy, because I don't believe that you should sacrifice your health in order to save a quick buck, because it's not a good payoff. So there are really easy ways to trim your budget. Most of all, just eat in, like pack your lunch. And I know it's not always fun, but like meal prep, doing stuff like that is going to save you hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single month by just trimming down your food budget. Another quick tip is, don't be afraid, if you can, to buy bulk. because like if you get a Costco membership, I know you have to pay for the Costco membership, but we have saved tons of money. Like if you just buy like a 20-pound bag of rice, it ends up being like 18 cents a serving for rice. And then just buy a couple rotisserie chickens, shred them up, and then you have dinner for the whole week for like 20 bucks.
Yeah.
So there's lots of really easy ways. We're gonna be posting tons of food money saving stuff, so stay tuned for that too.
Sure, for sure. Another huge one for a lot of people, especially nowadays, kind of along the same lines of internet, is cell phone. You know, I've always been a big proponent of, I like having nice phones, and that's something that's important to me, but for a lot of people, I think we buy the newest phone as soon as it comes out because we feel that we need it, but in some cases we don't necessarily need that. And again, it's the whole point of budgeting is always just figuring out what's important to you and actually spending the money there. So if the most important thing to you is making sure that you have the new iPhone, the new Samsung Galaxy that comes out, and that's important to you, then make sure you budget for it. But if that's not, I mean, then you might consider buying phones that don't cost as much. That definitely can help save a lot on your monthly bill. Another option that you may or may not have the opportunity for is you can actually join family plans or join plans with, if you have trustworthy friends. Typically, the more people you have on a plan, the cheaper it becomes per person. So we actually were lucky enough to be able to join on a plan with my parents, and that cut our bill down tremendously. And
it went from like $150 a month to like $20 a month.
Like 30 or 40, but
30, 40?
Still.
Oh no, it's $20 per phone.
Right, but still, because
that dropped it like crazy.
Right.
And his dad was actually on a grandfathered plan.
Right.
So he had incredible rates, and he could add us for like $20 a line. And we pay him back in Starbucks gift cards.
Yeah.
And he's totally happy with that. So if you have a family member that is willing to do that, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously
don't be ashamed of it. I mean,
don't be ashamed.
Like, the whole point of adulting isn't to have to do everything independently. Don't be ashamed if you can still take advantage of things that people are willing to let you do, and to help you out. It's going to help them out too, because I mean, like, having that many lines, it lowers the average cost for them too. Mm-hmm. So but anyway, those are some of the big areas that I know pretty much everybody has. Obviously things like car insurance, you can't really do much there other than not getting into accidents. Keeps your rates down. Don't speed needlessly. I'm not going to preach to you about that. Even things like gas expenses, probably isn't necessarily in your best interest to go buy a new car if you have a gas guzzler, just to save money on gas, especially with gas being cheaper right now. But there's things you can do to even cut down on your gas, by conserving changing the way you drive to actually conserve gas can save money. And just anything you look at, if you really want to get into it, there's ways of saving money on it, and we'll get into that in some other videos too.
But even what's crazy, even just talking about, like, if you have a gas guzzler, like before we got married, I had a super old car and I was putting in $50 a week into my car, which over the month could have been literally a new car payment on a car that I could have spent far less on gas, and that car was breaking down all the time. So just because you're not paying for a car doesn't mean you're not paying for a car.
Right.
So you have to look at things in the grand spectrum. So if you're looking for a new car, don't just buy the cheapest one. I know that seems like the quick answer to save money, but if you're buying an older car that is using way more money in gas and you're having to put a lot more maintenance into it, it's not necessarily cheaper. So just keep that in mind. Don't just think short term. Think big picture, and you're actually going to be able to save more money, even if you may have to put a little bit more up front.
Yeah, and that also depends on how good you are with fixing cars, or do you know people. Again, there's no shame in leveraging people you know. When we've had some issues with our house, there's some people that we know how to fix things. We go to them and ask for help, and they've been able to help us out in a time of need, and it ends up being less expensive that way than going to somebody that we don't know that upcharges us for everything, and vice versa.
And in return, we always get back to them.
Exactly. The whole point, in life is to help others and receive help in return. Like there's no shame in receiving, but you should also be trying to give back any way you can.
Exactly.
That's
Never freeload. That's
yeah, don't freeload.
That's not a good
No.
way to save money.
We're here to help each other, but that means that you reciprocate it as well.
Yeah.
So one more thing before we wrap this video up that I think was probably a really good point to hit on is like even going on dates. You know, we kind of hit on in other videos, like if you enjoy, you know, drinking soda or drinking alcohol, drinking tea when you go out to eat, that really adds up, especially if you go out to eat pretty frequently. It can really tack on a lot of extra money on the bill. And if you're willing to, you know, just drink water versus drinking the, you know, the specialty drinks, if that's not, you know, again, point of your budget, if that's not something that's really important to you, you can save a lot of money by doing that. Another thing that we've done, especially in times where, you know, money was a little bit tighter for us, is we would find restaurants that we enjoyed the same foods and we would share plates.
Yeah, and the key factor to that is if you can find restaurants that give you unlimited of something,
Yeah.
like
Chips, bread.
Red Robin, they give you
Right.
unlimited fries.
Salad.
What was the other place? Oh, Cheesecake Factory. Even though Cheesecake Factory is expensive, the portions are massive, and then they give you unlimited bread. So we will almost always split a dish, and then we'll just eat like more bread or more fries or more chips and salsa depending on where you're going. And I know that seems cheap, but the thing is, like,
They let you do
the
it.
thing is, like, you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, most of the time they give you way more food than you can eat by yourself anyway. So we actually found that when we split meals, we actually were wasting less food. We were just as satisfied. We still left good tips. Keep that in mind.
Right.
Like, we didn't lower our tip because we were spending less money. Like, we still gave them a good tip, but we spent less. So instead of spending $40 on a meal, we spent $20 and still left a good tip. And we'd still leave there spending like $25 instead of $50.
Yeah, and
So-
you don't always have to do that, but again,
Like some restaurants, we don't like
Yeah.
the same thing, so we don't do that.
right,
But,
and sometimes dietary restrictions can change things
but
too.
we're gonna do a video on how to hack Chipotle because
Oh.
I am the Chipotle hacker, and we can both eat there for $9.
Yeah.
Just for the record. So that's something you can do though, if you're not weird about sharing things. Like, I don't care. Like, we just share everything. So I mean, we make out.
Right.
Why can't we share a burrito?
Exactly.
So anyway, is that all the categories?
Yeah, that's all the
That's
categories
about
I want to hit on. Again, you know, we'll go into more details on like individual, like nitty gritty things you can do, but overview, I mean, I think the main point of this is keep your mind, you know, keep an open mind and be willing to, you know, adjust some things in your life if it's going to mean doing more of the fun stuff that you want to do. But overall, like all these things that we said, everything, you know, that saves money, if you're just doing it to save money, that's actually not a good reason. You know, a lot of people just save money to save money, and it ends up being like this big paranoid thing of, oh, I gotta save all this money, and there's no purpose behind it. Again, I really want to, you know, hit home, the point of budgeting is to actually spend money where you want to spend it and following that purpose. So if the purpose of saving extra money is to save money so you can go on a trip or buy a new TV or buy new furniture, whatever it is, buy a new car, whatever it is that you really, really want to do in your life, that you're trying to free up your budget to allow you to do, that's the whole point of this. And make sure you're on the same page. You know, if you're in a relationship, it's important to not just have an individual goal, it needs to be a group goal. But you know, if you don't have a savings account and you're trying to save a lot of money, you're trying to build that up, then great, save the money. But if you have a decent savings and you're just trying to free up some money to go on an extra weekend trip in the summer, then do that. You know, that's the point of that's the point of making these adjustments to your finances, is to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. Split a burrito so you can put an extra $20 towards the Bahama Fund. So anyway, we hope these tips were helpful to you guys. We'll be doing a lot more videos that flesh out these concepts like a lot fuller and give a lot more details of how to do them. So make sure to subscribe if you guys want to follow along and get all those tips and tricks and stuff as we go. I think that's it.
That's all.
We love you guys. Go live your dreams.
Bye-bye.
Bye.